It's Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse. I'm Michael Rand. Patrick, eventful weekend. You drove to Fargo. I've done that drive about a million times. I do the last leg too up to Grand Forks, almost all those times too. You went there on Saturday when the Gophers made that region final. Saw them beat St. Cloud State 4-1. A tense game to get to the Frozen Four. I thought it was a pretty well played game. I think St. Cloud State's pretty good too, but I think the Gophers kind of showed they are the best team in college hockey, I think, in my estimation, and probably yours too. Now in the Frozen Four, we got a lot to get to, including Wolves, Wild, maybe some Twins talk. But let's start there today, Patrick. Just because you were there, what was the scene like, and what did you see between those two teams?
St. Cloud is really good. I hadn't seen much of them, but they were number one in like sometime in February, and then they didn't finish real strong in the regular season. Ended up having a brutal 3-game series with UMD to make it to the whatever they call that thing in St. Paul now.
Frozen face-off, I think. Yeah,
frozen face-off. And then they got there and they played North Dakota and then Colorado College and won that. And like the coach, I got to see him in action, Brett Larson, really for the first time. He's an impressive guy, and he had them ready, that's for sure. And it was 2-1. The first period was pretty much all Gophers.
Yes.
And it was only 1-0 after the first period. St. Cloud tied it, and then the superstars come to the party. Lacombe hits Cooley on that stretch pass down the middle, and Cooley goes in and gets a goal, makes it 2-1. And then St. Cloud was going to tie it early in the third period. The net was wide open, and somehow the guy shot it into the side of the net instead of into the net. And,
yep.
And then here's what struck me, Mike, and I pointed this out in a column. They got the 3-1 goal with about 8 minutes left.
About 8 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, and it was the number 3 overall draft choice, winning the draw to a second-round NHL pick, who then shot it through a screen by a second-round NHL pick, nice, to give the Gophers a 3-1 lead and pretty much clinch the game. But they got some high-end talent, like they'd like to say in hockey, and it's amazing the number of players on this team that are gonna play in the NHL. Probably a dozen of them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So,
yes.
So in the end, they're loaded up, and it was a good, tough game for them. But Boston U is always great, and then either Quinnipiac or Michigan. So it's not going to be a cakewalk.
No,
when they get to Tampa, but it certainly. I think the Gophers go in as a good, strong favorite. They go into that even with the competition they're facing. So, yes, it's. It is when you look back when Lamachko got the job, he was an easy choice for sure, as long as he was going to take it. Now his last act in St. Cloud State, I think they were a number 1 seed and lost to some nobody in the first round down in Sioux Falls, and everybody's worried about it being that he was distracted and that like that. But his first year he came in, they were pretty mediocre, what he inherited.
Yes.
And to see this in year 5 is pretty astounding. They made the Final Four, the Frozen Four last year, but there was certainly not the kind of anticipation that you have with this team. That's they got hammered by Mankato 5-1 in the semis last year, but
right.
Yeah, this is a different animal. This team, they got a bunch of freshmen that are great, and it's a hell of a team.
Well, I think they were saying last year they were kind of a year ahead of schedule. That was kind of maybe a more surprising Frozen Four appearance. But this year, yeah, what's impressive about watching them is not just the talent. I mean, you got to have talent. That's what wins games. But maybe even compared to some teams with talent and some Gophers teams in the past that had talent, this team's got some grit, some determination. Like they don't just have to play pretty. They can win a lot. They can win multiple ways. And I thought Justin Close was really good in that game too. He kept them in it in the second period for a while
Yes.
when St. Cloud was taking it to him pretty good, especially after he got that first goal. If he gives up another one in there, he made some good saves in there. If he gives up another one in there, they might not have gotten through at least in the way they did, where it was not comfortable in the end, but it was they never trailed, so at least they had that going for them.
The other goalie was fabulous in the first
Yes.
period. He kept them in the
Yes.
game. Castor's his name. Apparently, he was villainized last year in St. Cloud. The regular goalie got hurt, and he played 3 games and gave up 14 goals. And they said all these horrible things about him on social media. But they brought in a couple of St. Cloud kids for the not kids. They look like men. These guys.
Well,
They'd been there a while. This Meyer was his name, and you could see that they had a toughness about them, and they'd been around for a while, and it was But this Gopher team, I talked to Motzko for 45 minutes or so a couple of weeks ago, and whenever I'm asking him about a kid, I always say, "How are mom and dad?" And he, in hockey, and
yes.
he has no complaints. These superstars' parents are good people, so he doesn't hear anything about my kid didn't get enough power play time. I mean, that's a high school thing to some degree, but it's
Right.
also I'm also in college when these kids' parents can be a pain, but he was talking about what a good group they are, and the Middlestad parents. And there's a guy that's the defenseman Luke is really good, and he doesn't even get any pub on that team.
Right.
That's the thing about them. They got so many good players that you focus on that first line, and then you focus on on the depth of the defense. But they're not putting anybody on the. I mean, Mason Nevers has played how many games for them, and he's a great defensive player. And on the they don't put anybody on the ice that's not does. They don't put anybody on the ice who isn't going to play pro if he wants to.
Right.
So they're not all going to make the NHL, but they're all going to play in Europe or someplace if they want to. So they are talented, to say the least.
Yeah, I had a former player, a long time, 20, 25 year ago player, Casey Hankinson, on last week to kind of set up the series. And he was saying, one thing about Motzko is that he's done a really good job bringing the alums back. That, I don't think that doesn't necessarily show up on the ice, but just the feeling around the program has been pretty impressive to him. And just Motzko being this kind of welcoming person in addition to being a really good coach. And I think that kind of shows and kind of how they've been able to not just win, but kind of capture some hearts and minds here.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake. With 24/7 gaming, the good times never have to end. And you can satisfy your cravings at our restaurants and bars. Or relax in one of our luxurious hotel rooms. Those that play together, stay together. And don't forget to join Club M so you can spark new memories and bask in the rewards along the way. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Oh, the other thing is, Mike, how many legacies do we have on this team?
I was just going to say I'm uncomfortable with all the names that I grew up, covering or watching. Nevers, Snuggerud.
There's got to be 8 of them, isn't there?
I know it.
But we count the Brodzinskis. I get very confused as to which. This is the last of the Brodzinskis. 2 of them played at St. Cloud, and then this is the second Gopher. And but they all they all don't. I think all of them have B's as first names too, don't they?
A lot of them do. Yeah.
I don't like that trend in name. Some guy was talking to us the other day, and all of his brothers were first name C's, and just whatever happened to just naming them Bill, Jim, and Timmy? Come on, let's not. We don't have to all have a C or a B or something like that. That's my mini rant for today.
There you go.
Don't go out of your way to give all your kids a the same letter to start their first name. Pick a nice name and don't worry about whether it sounds like the other kid's name. Like, it's too confusing for us old sports writers. Like if you had Tommy Brzezinski and Petey Brzezinski, you'd be able to tell who was who. But the ones with all the first names, it's very difficult. So anyway,
like the Stahl brothers have the they got it right. They're fine.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, they're really good. It's you got a week delay. You get the
right.
It is the most drawn out season in college sports. They take that break in the middle of the season for a couple of weeks, and now they take an extra week here to get to the finals. And if you're the Gophers and the Big Ten, they didn't have to play the first week of the Big Ten tournament. They only played 2 games in 3 weeks, basically, there for a while. Meanwhile, the other guys played 7, but I don't know if that's good or bad. But St. Cloud's coach was talking about how worn out his team was after that UMD series, So anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure that was a heavy hitting series, but
2 of the guys that one, either Larson or Hastings, is likely to be the coach at Wisconsin, I would guess. Huh?
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. That's what that's the speculation right now. Anyway, I mean,
Larson's a little younger guy, and Hastings would be good, but he's 57. So you're kind of hiring. If you hire him, you're probably hiring him for 5 years, But I don't know which one is the front runner, but it would probably be one of those 2 guys. There's also a guy at Rolick is somewhere, an alum who's coaching out Western Michigan or some dang place. I don't know, but one of those guys, Larson's a really impressive guy, so it might end up with him. I don't know.
It was kind of an opposite weekend of one we had last weekend when everybody lost. This one, all of a sudden, you got the Gophers in the Frozen Four and the Wolves. Patrick, I think we talked about this last week. Like, every time you think you can kind of write them off, you can't, and then they win a couple games, close games against the Knicks and then the Hawks. They finally win a home game. Then they got to go on this road trip and start at Golden State. Golden State like 30-7 at home going into this game. And Wolves, they get Ant back. Cat is back in the mix now. Miraculous recovery. Stuff that movies are made of, from what I'm told. But
not this one.
Yeah.
3 out of 14. And fortunately for him, the last 2 were threes that won the game for him. But
yes.
It would be, what's some movie where a guy gets, in Gladiator, when he's laying on the ground with a with a sword in him, and then he rallies to hit that 3. I'll say this about Cat. He drives me crazy. I'm still okay if they were able to trade him. But he's the guy I want shooting 2 free throws.
Yes.
And he's the guy I want shooting a 3
yep.
when the game's on the line, because he's their best 3-point shooter, and he's their best free thrower. So, and he did. They weren't exactly picture shows, but they were. They were. I like the fact that there's they make the steal, and rather than mess around and look for some shot, the open 3's there. He takes it and boom, and all of a sudden let the other team try to score on you. And boy, did they play great defense after Golden State got the ball back. And the steal that Anderson made on Draymond was fantastic. And then at the end, they guarded him too, and made Steph throw some prayer up from down in the corner. And Anthony Edwards was guarding him on that one. So, by the way, they're going to ease Edwards back in. He played 34 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's a warrior, that's for sure.
Yes, he is.
That guy wants to play. And when you saw that ankle injury, you thought it might be a month. And then when he missed 3 games. So, yeah. You know what they got? They got too much depth.
They got some depth. They really do.
I mean, Tarian Prince, he didn't miss a 3 for 2 weeks, and now all of a sudden he gets 8 minutes, 9 minutes, something like that. He didn't play hardly as much. They got deep depth, as they used to say, So it's and Nas, oh man,
yeah,
it'd be great if they figure out a way to keep him, but I don't think they can.
Well, not if they're going to keep Cat and Gobert. I mean, Nas is going to look at it and say, "There's not enough minutes for me if you're going to do that."
Somebody's going to give him $100 million.
Maybe, or at least a a big, 3 for 60 kind of thing. He's gonna get paid.
They're going to give him a lot of money because he is really a valuable player. Because I never thought 2-3 years ago, you'd say, that guy can handle the ball. I mean, he's a pretty good ball handler, and he is really a good player. And it will be a bad loss. But it's funny. I think as an observer, I think this has been a great season because they're not as everybody wants consistency. Inconsistency's fun. And the other thing is they've gotten off the deck so often and played great 2-3 point games, one after another. I don't think there's anything to complain about with this team, except Cat missing 52 games with a sore calf. But that's another issue. But and I give them credit. When they first made the Connolly trade, I said, well, A, the guy gets hurt for the last 2-3 years, and B, he can't shoot, and he's been a much better. That has been a very wise decision by Tim Connolly to bring that guy in here, because they just play a better form of basketball with him here now. They got Gobert, instead of clogging everything up, kind of slips in there once in a while and gets a layup or a dunk. But I just like the way they're playing with Connolly there. And the other thing about them is, even if they don't have all their guys, they're going to give you a good ball game most of the time. They got those guys on the bench.
Well, and Conley too. I mean, Hein made this point last week on the show when we were setting up the Golden State game, but he's older now. He's 35, 36, somewhere in that range. So he's not the athlete he used to be, but he will give you, especially in spurts, but I think consistently too, he will give you defense. He's not, I don't think he's the great, I don't think he's like a plus defender like maybe he was when he was younger, but he will, you saw it on those last few possessions. He puts in a defensive effort, and he will get a defensive rebound every once in a while too. He just understands how to play defense, and that is a difference from D'Lo for sure.
Yeah, and we like to bash NBA refs because it's an impossible sport to referee, and then they hold grudges and they make goofy foul calls, but they let you play defense down the stretch. They're not looking. They allow you to play defense on Steph, which they did, which is If this was college and you're putting your hands on somebody like that, they'd call a foul right away and put the guy at the line. But they let the Wolves were willing to play terrific defense the last 2 possessions of Golden State, and the referees allowed them to, which is I like to see. So anyway, it was a hell of a game, and it was Cat did at least, as we said, this would have been a bloody movie before the hero arose from the thing. But he had some quotes. He had some quotes again after the game, though. His self-praise is pretty fantastic.
Oh yeah,
he is. What my dad used to say about a guy? I'd like to buy him for what he's worth and sell him for what he thinks he's worth.
That's a great expression.
But now Cat is being paid what he thinks he's worth.
Yes.
So anyway, but my father used to always say that about a guy, and I don't know. We'll see. They're gonna get in the playoffs, and they're gonna have a chance to do something, but they're also gonna have a chance to bomb out in the 8-9 game too. So it's the unpredictability of it's kind of fun, and when they play good like last night and pull one out, they didn't shoot it that great, but
no,
when they pull one out like that, it's a lot of fun. To me, it's been an enjoyable season, even if it has been erratic.
It's been an interesting season. It's been a very for news value. It's been fantastic, and we still have not settled a single thing in the West. Obviously, they play the Kings tonight. It's a tough back-to-back. Kings pretty squarely in 3rd place in the conference now. But by winning this game, they're 7th in the West, but 5 through Well, 4 through 11 still only separated by 3.5 games. But the Mavericks and Jazz have been kind of falling apart lately, so you're starting to feel better. Starting to feel better about top 10. The Mavericks lost twice to Charlotte.
Yes.
Over the weekend.
How about that? They go get Kyrie for no reason.
Yes. Right.
Team comes apart and he doesn't play. He's an idiot. He's not going to play. You trade for him. You trade for him. You're going to get a guy who's going to play 40 games. It's how many games has he played since he's been there? 4. He hurt all the time. So
right.
That was just Cuban wanting to have this dynamic. And the first night he plays, he gets 30 or something. Everybody's excited that he's an idiot. So and if he's got an excuse not to play, he's not going to play. So anyway, Dallas is going in the tank, and they don't look like they're going to make. And Lucas, you can see how frustrated he is. He got himself another technical.
Yeah,
can't play tonight. So that's good that they screwed the whole thing up. So there's a team the Wolves can finish ahead of. So
yes, exactly. They got that going, and they got the Kings and the Suns on this road trip. So that was the thing. It felt like that game last night was big. It was a big swing because they lose that game. I don't know if they got a chance at the top 6. They still got a decent chance at the play-in, but now that they won that, now the rest of this road trip, as tough as it is, if they can squeeze one more out, or even if they don't, I think they're still feeling okay because they've got some winnable games at the end here. You lose that one, though, you're in tough shape. But this one now, they're a half game back of the Warriors. They split that season series, and so it'll come down to conference record if it's a head-to-head, and the Wolves are up by 1 in that now. And they have the tiebreaker against the Clippers, who they're only a game behind now, too. So top 6 is still in play for them right now. Top 8 definitely in play to have 2 cracks at the play-in. But yeah, I mean, just for all the twists and turns, it feels like maybe they, are as close to fully healthy as they're going to be at a pretty good time. And you're right, the depth when everybody's healthy, it's a pretty deep team. It's definitely a pretty deep team, and that's not something you could say about a lot of Wolves teams in the past. Sometimes they had a hard time putting 5 out there that were any good, and now they've got 10 or 11 that are pretty decent.
Yeah, it's last couple of weeks are going to be outstanding. So what the heck? People have been supporting them all year. There's a lot of people excited after Cat made those 2 free throws, those historic 2 free throws. There was a lot of Cat love out there on Twitter that I didn't really know existed. So they're an interesting team for sure.
Friday against the Lakers at Target Center. Sounds like LeBron could be back for that one. And then
he played last night.
Yeah, he should be all right then. And Saturday, the season ender against the Pelicans. Those would be the 2 to watch at the end because those are going to be 2 teams that are right there with them.
Yeah, how about the Iron Man they got down there, Williamson? What a fraud he is. He was
Zion,
voted. People voted that idiot starter on the All-Star game. He doesn't play.
Never plays.
Make somebody play. He never plays.
No, he does not.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Well, Patrick, the Wild. Let's get to the Wild, and I got a Twins thing for you at the end. But the Wild keeps getting points. It's not always been pretty lately, but pretty impressive that they keep progressing like this. And they're in first place with 8-9 games left. It's unbelievable.
Not even something anybody considered to put any. It's just not like last year when there was a couple of teams running away from you, right? Had a couple of teams that were going to go well over 100 points, but this thing has been, even at their worst, they were 7-8 points from the top in the West, and not only winning their division, they could win the conference. You know, only 2-3 points back in that too. Vegas and I don't know who else is up there. I looked at this morning, and it's been an amazing run. It certainly has, and now it always gets distorted because you get those free losses. You can lose, and it's not a. When people list the record, they don't say you're 14-3. They say you're 14-1-2 or something like that. But it's been those are the rules, and you can get those free points even when you get beat. And it's been an incredible run, and obviously some of the pickups that Guerin made have really paid off, and they got one more guy coming. Nyquist is supposed to be a really good player. He was available because he's hurt all the time, but they might get him for the playoffs too. So, the thing about it is, you go in there as a number one seed and you get the home ice advantage, and it means nothing in hockey anymore.
Yes.
The crowd goes absolutely nuts, and it's crazy when it starts. In the first 5 minutes, everybody's screaming, and after that, the home ice is gone, and the other teams, the NHL in the last few years, I'm just going off the top of my head, but I'd say the home teams are winning about 55% of the playoff series. And I know that when you get down to like Game 7 at home, the visitors win a lot more than the home team. So it has become a very random game, but it would help if you win the division, because you're going to get to play a bad team,
a lesser team,
not a much lesser team. If you if you get to this, I looked through the 7-8 teams are. I think Seattle's one of them, and who they play tonight, and they aren't bad, but. You're going to get to play a lesser team if you end up winning the division. That's for sure.
Yeah, because you wind up 2 or 3, you're going to have to play, either Colorado or Dallas, and that's no picnic.
You don't want Colorado. It looks like Colorado's coming on. Although Colorado's not beating anybody 6-2, like they did last year. They're become more of a defensive grinder from their scores, the way I look at it. A lot of 3-2s and stuff like that.
So of the Wild, I mean, that's the thing. Dean Evison got them to play like this, even though they were, they got some up and down to them occasionally still, but they've been winning a lot more 3-1 games this year than the 6-5 scrambles last year. But yeah, you're right, Patrick. They've got Seattle tonight, then it's Colorado, Vegas in the next 3 after that, and that'll tell you a lot about what is going to
Colorado or here.
That is at Colorado.
Yeah,
on Wednesday.
But I mean, it's been either way. No matter how it turns out, it's been a fantastically better season than I thought it was going to be. Remember we go back to when they started off, and they were
giving up 20 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, and you kind of thought, okay, how are they ever going to get this put together? Because it just seemed like they lost Fiala, and but they made up for the loss of him, and Boldy is turning into a star, and
yes,
it's been pretty amazing. And the goalie, the other thing is the secret MVP on this team has been Gustafsson.
Absolutely,
because if they had, nobody thought he was going to be a player. I mean, he was mediocre as could be in Ottawa, right? And
yes.
And now he's, you don't know who's going to be your number one goalie here, but they're basically equal now. So they'll start to flower in the playoffs, though. They wouldn't hurt the Flowers' feelings, would they?
I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think
one thing for sure, they won't tell us in advance.
No. No.
It'll be like, as I said this a couple of weeks ago, it'll be like Jacques in 03. I'm not telling you who the goalie is.
No, yeah.
He had 2 of them, and nobody. I love hockey and their secrets. They're fantastic.
Right.
They're amazing. Lower body,
upper body. Yeah, that's amazing.
We still haven't publicly revealed that Kaprizov's a hamstring, have we?
No, it's just lower body. He's progressing nicely, but progressing from what? Nobody would ever know.
Don't let him fool you. It's a hamstring,
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Hey, you got a new hero on the Twins. If he wasn't your hero already, Sonny Gray is your new hero, Patrick. He's ripping the whole idea of 4 and 5 inning starts. And I don't know if this was more of a shot at the organizational philosophy or a shot at some of the guys they had on the team last year that were happy to pitch 4 or 5 innings, like Chris Archer or Dylan Bundy. But
Bundy did not want to pitch 5 innings.
No, you're right.
Bundy was Archer. That's all he was capable of, and it was a stupid signing to start with. But Bundy, they they basically told Bundy, even if he got him out for 5 innings, they had no confidence in him, and they took him out. I remember one game he pitched against the Angels when they didn't have Trout in the
Yes.
lineup. 64 pitches, 1 hit, cruising, and they hooked him anyway. 5 innings, and it, it. I would never say that he lacked competitiveness. He
Okay.
just wasn't that good, but. I think Gray was ripping the organizational philosophy, and I agree with him. And I like the fact he's a guy who's going to say whatever's on his mind. He's not going to worry about hurting anybody's feelings.
No.
So, anyway, I get concerned with their rotation simply because it's 5 right-handers. And then
Yes.
the guys in the wings. Barlin, he's right-handed. Over's right-handed. They don't have a left-handed starter in Richardson, Woods, Richardson. Their top 8, 9 starters are all right-handers. What's wrong with getting a lefty?
I know.
Well,
they made all these trades and they still couldn't trade for a lefty. I guess it's a pretty hot commodity, I guess. But yeah, you're right. The right-handedness of the pitching is a concern.
As the season approaches, I hate their run scoring potential.
Yes.
They're weak behind the plate, and neither the Vasquez can hit. And you're going to get sick of watching him because he's going to play 100 games. The other guys worked hard. You got Gallo playing first. He's going to hit 190. You got second baseman, new Polanco probably not going to play for a month. You got Correa, he'll be fine. You got Miranda, he can hit, hopefully. He better be able to hit. He's going to hit in the middle of the lineup. Larnick in left, another left-handed hitter. Kepler in right, another left-handed hitter. And Michael A. Taylor can't hit.
No.
And excuse me, slap my mouth, Michael Taylor. He doesn't need an A because the other guy's been out of the league for 6 years. Okay.
That's true.
Anyway, Michael Taylor can't hit. So what are you going to do? Are you going to pinch hit for him in the 8th inning against a against a right-handed pitcher, and then let Nick Gordon play center field or something? Is that what you're going to do? I mean, I don't like the lineup at all right now. Who's hitting the middle of the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, you take Kirilloff and Polanco. You take Kirilloff and Polanco out of that thing, and it looks a lot less, formidable.
Kirilloff's a sad deal because that guy was going to be a hitter, man. That kid could hit, and who knows? They were lying to us the whole time. They got Gallo because they were worried about. Not worried. They knew Kirilloff wasn't going to play. They got this Solano out of nowhere, and none of us were smart enough to say, why are they getting this guy?
Yeah.
And it was because Polanco's not going to be ready to play. And, and
Taylor for Buxton.
Taylor for Buxton. So they basically have announced. Didn't it sound like Rocco was saying Buxton's going to DH for the first half of the season? And then
I don't know.
That's the way it sounded. I mean, Buxton, now maybe he'll be an improved hitter this year. Maybe he'll have worked on his
approach,
game more.
His bat to ball skills.
His bat to ball skills. Think he was Miguel Sano last year, home run or strikeout. And I think it's going to be. I think this year with the new pitching approach, you're going to have more strikeouts.
Maybe.
I think the Major League Baseball's going to have more strikeouts with this speed up. I'm all in favor of it.
Yes.
I think it's great, but there's going to be more strikeouts, and that's not certainly what they were looking for. But if you get your choice between more strikeouts and faster games, I'd take more strikeouts.
No, absolutely. Yeah,
you got to get the game over with. So anyway, it's you like the baseball, and I was down in spring training for 40 some years, so I get more revved up for it to start, obviously, than I am now. But I'm not terribly optimistic about this team. So the pitching is going to be better. But
I like the pitching. I like the defense, generally speaking, especially up the middle, although Polanco being out hurts, and if Buxton's not your center fielder, that's it's a dent there. But Gallo not being in outfield, being in first base, there's just a lot of things that I liked about it before we got some of this injury news, but the pitching could hold them together for a while. And by the way, if people missed the Sonny Gray quote, it was pretty good. He said, "I don't think we're interested in going 4 innings and being happy. I feel like we had a group last year that was pretty content with going 4 innings, where 4 and 5 innings is considered a good start." I disagreed with that then. I disagree with that now, but I feel like just the guys we have aren't content with it either, which is what you want in a rotation. I think Rocco got asked about it. He said, "It's my job to decide when they pitch, how long they pitch, and how we win games." He said, "Sonny's a tremendous competitor, and I want our guys to always want to be out there and get the next out." So there you go. There you go. We'll see how that plays out.
So Rocco didn't like the quote, in other words.
He said he liked Gray's spirit, his eagerness to pitch well. I don't know if he likes the idea that he's getting challenged on the 5 and hook, but I don't know. You would, if you don't have a great bullpen, which they didn't last year, it's even more curious. They had 110 starts, Phil Miller wrote, of 5 innings or fewer last year, the most in major leagues.
Yeah, it was 10. Pathetic. That's for sure. And as we pointed out, you put yourself in that situation where you're putting poor Chris Archer, in a situation where he hasn't pitched in like 3 years, and he's a small guy, and so you basically started the season telling him, try to give us 4, right?
Yeah.
You told him that, and it was never a possibility he was going to become more than a 4 or 5 inning pitcher, but they kept him. He ended up making 20 some starts, right?
Right.
So they put themselves in that situation. This is certainly a lot better now. Maeda hasn't looked good down there in spring training, so to see if he's come back or not. But you never know. It depends upon the vibe of the season too. Teams get off to, last year they played way better than we thought they were going to for about 4 months, and then went in the tank. But even with the bad pitching, but who knows? But internally, I think the division's better and they're worse. So yeah, I'm not. They're not worse than the team that finished, but I don't. They're with Buxton not playing center field and with Polanco not in the lineup, they're worse than they were last year. No Kirilloff, who they didn't have for a lot of last season. But this lineup is. Joey Gallo's going to hit 190. Okay, he gets a lot of walks. Big deal. He's an okay. I think he'd be good at first base, but I'm not a big Joey Gallo fan. I don't think the number one need was to replace those strikeouts. So that's
right. Yeah, and they sent Ober down too. I guess that wasn't terribly surprising when you kind of read the tea leaves.
They want to see him stretched out. They got to keep him stretched out, which is a bunch of BS.
I want to see him. I want to see guys get outs. He's one of the best pitchers in the spring.
Yeah, he was
Columnbay too. Columbay didn't give up a run all spring, although you don't know how that's going to go.
But I would keep over and let that Cole Sands go. He's not anything to write home about. Basically, he's basically what we used to call the mop catcher. He's the mop up when somebody gets knocked out early. But I think Over would have helped in the bullpen, because right-handers wouldn't want to face that guy in game situations.
No.
But I don't know. They make so few decisions based on what they see in spring training now. That used to be when I covered it way back when, it was like, who's going to make the club here the last 3? Who's going to have those last 3-4 spots? They made their determinations weeks in advance. And I think the only guy who we didn't know was going to make the club that's going to make the club is Will Castro.
Right.
And that's because Polanco is hurt. So that's anyway. I don't anticipate. I don't sense much anticipation around here either for the start of the Twins season. Do you? They're pleading like hell for people to buy opening day tickets. So I don't think they're going to have a sellout on opening day.
No, I don't think they're going to be close to a sellout on opening day. From what I've been able to gather, I think they're going to have to win some hearts and minds. I feel like. I feel like people get more revved up for baseball, as weird as this sounds. I feel like when you have a nice March, people start to think about baseball more. And when you start on March 30th and it hasn't been over 45 degrees here, people have a hard time kind of getting ready for baseball. But I think it'll change if they play well. I mean, it's like the the dumbest thing, but like you got to win. You got to win, and then people will come to your games, and people will get re-engaged. And they did that for a while last year. They didn't really capture people's imagination so much last year because I think a lot of people thought that was a little bit tenuous, and it turned out to be tenuous. So I think they're still in improvement mode with a lot of fans, and if they put a good team out on the field, then I think by the summertime maybe they'll start to draw a little bit better. But we'll see.
One more thing, Brian Dutcher.
I was going to say,
old-fashioned basketball there, baby. Guard the living bejeebers out of you, rebound, and keep grinding. And you never know what's going to happen. This Final Four is
amazing.
Going to have the lowest ratings in the history of basketball.
There's nobody better than a 4 seed.
No, it is astounding. And UConn, nobody can come within 25 points.
No.
What happened? I don't get it. They're killing everybody.
Yeah.
And whenever they go to the Final Four, they win it too. So they're got to be the favorites right now. But wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if this collection of interesting characters from Florida Atlantic ends up winning? They could win it. I mean,
anybody can win it. It's a 9. Florida Atlantic goes to San Diego State's a 9 versus a 5, and then Miami UConn's a 5 versus a 4. I mean, this is just like it's wide open. I mean, UConn, you're right. They've been knocking everybody out, but they were probably a 4 seed for a reason. They can throw a clunker up at any moment here.
Yeah, and I said this on Twitter last night, but this Jim Larranaga is the perfect coach for Miami because they are spending more NIL money than anybody to bring in these transfers. But he looks like this trustworthy old grandfather. He wouldn't be part of any machinations like this. They're buying everybody they can get their hands on down there in both women's and men's basketball. But they got grandpa. It's like when Johnny Wooden had the biggest crook in college basketball working for him. But we all said, oh, look at John. What a dignified old guy he is. That's Larranaga's that way too. He said, grandpa's going to come over here and talk to us in his quiet voice for 2 minutes. Meanwhile, the guys are getting their cash on the way to the locker room.
That's amazing.
It's great, isn't it? It is amazing the way things are going. Now, somebody told me this, and I think the guy's insane, but he's an inside Gopher guy.
Okay.
That the bidding on Evans finally stopped at $800,000.
What? $800,000?
He told me this. He thought he knew what he was talking about. So
wow.
I don't believe it because the guy's 30th in the country or something. Yeah. So, in that case, I wouldn't have gone to Minnesota either. No. So, there's millions of guys in the transfer portal, though. It'll be interesting to see who they end up with here. Because
maybe look at the women's coach's son, Plitzowite. He's in the portal now.
Yeah. Well, they might get him. He was actually a really good player, I guess, till he got injured. But that was also in Division II. But hey, we're getting Parker Fox back any day now, so don't worry about it. He's about 28 years old now, but we can't wait for him. So
he'll fit in the WCHA. All right,
We're starting to take the portal seriously, though, according to AD Coyle. So
yes.
We're only 2.5 years late on that baby, but that's okay. All right.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. See you. Goodbye.
Bye.